Okay, so like imagine this, right? You stumble across, I don't know, some kind of huge scoop, like information that could totally flip the election. But there's a catch, a big one. It comes from like hacked stuff. And we're talking potentially a foreign government pulling the strings. So the question is, would you even want to know?
Hmm.
It's a juicy dilemma, and it's exactly what we're diving into today. We're talking about independent journalist Ken Klippenstein, and let's just say he got his hands on some, well, hacked documents about the Trump campaign. And here's the kicker. He decided to publish them.
It's really interesting you bring that up because this whole thing kind of throws us back to, 2016, the whole Hillary Clinton email situation. It's like, are
Yeah.
we seeing a pattern here? This issue of election interference, it's definitely concerning.
And it's not just like a little peek behind the curtain either. We're talking, and this is straight from the NBC News article, a 271-page document all about JD Vance, Trump's running mate. It's deep, deep dive into the campaign.
Yeah. And what really gets me is that this wasn't some like new leak or something. This had been, floating around for a while. Apparently these hackers, they think they're Iranian, have been like shopping these docs around for months. But Klippenstein, he was the first to actually bite.
And that's what's got everyone talking, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you've got big-time news outlets like household names who got these files but said, nope, not touching this. Why? Ethics, they said. But then you have Klippenstein going, hold my drink, and publishing it, saying he doesn't trust mainstream media. Calls them gatekeepers even. He's all about getting this info to the voters no matter how it got out there.
And that's where things get really, really complicated.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about the why, right? Why would Iran, especially with all the past history with Trump, why would they want this info out there? Election interference is the obvious answer.
But then it gets even messier. Elon Musk, remember him? He gets in on this whole thing. He was all over Twitter a while back, railing about how they handled, you remember the Hunter Biden laptop story? But then X, what Twitter is now. They go and suspend Klippenstein's account for, what else? Sharing this document. Talk about a head scratcher.
Right. It makes you wonder, what are the rules here? Where do independent journalists stand when you've got traditional outlets wrestling with the ethics of all of this? Really is a tough situation to be in,
Yeah.
for these journalists. It's like on the one hand, you have this, well, potentially explosive information, could really shake things up in an election. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, it wasn't exactly acquired through, the most above board channels.
It's like finding a secret stash of like old maps or something, right? Part of you is like, ooh, treasure. But then you think, wait, what if this leads to something, dangerous? I mean, Klippenstein clearly thought it was important to get out there no matter what, but you can't deny it. Putting information out there that might have been, planted by a foreign government, that's a whole other can of worms.
It's not just as simple as, oh, Iran wants Trump to lose, which they might, who knows? But it's like, what are they really trying to do here? They could be trying to stir up trouble, how it is, get everyone suspicious of the election itself.
Which, let's face it, that's not good for anyone. No matter who you're voting for. It's like, if the game is rigged, what's the point?
Totally. And it really makes you rethink that whole idea of transparency. Like we always say, more information is better, right?
Yeah.
Informed voters and all that. But what if the information is basically like a weapon? It's been a problem for traditional media forever. But now it's like independent journalists are caught in the crossfire too.
And then you throw in social media just to make it even more of a mess. I mean, X, or whatever we're calling Twitter these days, they banned Klippenstein for sharing this stuff. But remember that whole thing with the Hunter Biden laptop? There were some interesting international connections there, too.
It's almost like a repeat.
Yeah.
Musk was all over Twitter back then saying they were wrong to, try to bury that story. More transparency, he said. But now his platform goes and does, well, kind of the same thing to Klippenstein.
Makes you wonder if there are different rules for different players, Like, do independent journalists have to play by a different set of rules than, say, the New York Times? And if so, who makes the rules? So where does this leave us, It's easy to get caught up in all the ins and outs of, like, what journalists should or shouldn't do, or what Elon Musk is tweeting about, well, Xing about, I guess. But at the end of the day, we're the ones who have to, like, actually deal with all this information, right?
Totally. And it's not getting any easier. If anything, it feels like we're drowning in information. And it's not just about figuring out what's true anymore. It's like, you got to be a detective. Who's saying it? Why are they saying it? What's their angle?
It's exhausting. Like, I just want to read the news, not write a dissertation on every article,
I hear you. But that's kind of the world we're living in now. And this whole situation with Klippenstein, those hacked documents, it's like a crash course in all of this. Transparency, sure, but also national security. And then the big question, how should information even work in a democracy?
Yeah, no easy answers there. So, like, what are we supposed to do? Give up and just scroll through memes all day?
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah.
But we do need to be more, I don't know, proactive. Don't just take everything at face value. Question everything. Look for evidence. And yeah, don't be afraid to change your mind if you get new information.
Basically, be a little more skeptical, a little more, dare I say, cynical about all the stuff coming at us.
In a healthy way. Think of it like you're not just absorbing information. You're like in a conversation with it.
Yeah.
Pushing back, asking questions.
Yeah.
Because knowledge, it's not just power, right? It's a responsibility.
It's a lot to think about, that's for sure. But, that's what we do here on this deep dive. And on that note, thanks for joining us as we try to untangle this crazy information web we're all caught in. Until next time, keep those thinking caps on, everyone.